Welcome back. Welcome back once again to another one. Should be exciting. Going to be talking a lot, and I mean a lot, here about the next weekend of the next race. Practice qualifying start on Friday. A little bit less than 15 hours from now. A little bit less, probably than 14 hours from now officially. So we look at exactly how much time is left. And while the race coming up here, to be fair, 6 rounds. Check that. 8 rounds. 6 rounds in their inaugural season, but 8 rounds here. That does not mean 8 races. With that, has brought 2 races on the inaugural race weekend. And then we'll have 2 races to end the season. So with that already 4 races, but then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 races should be the max. The maximum is all the rest of them except for Miami and Mexico City hold double headers. We'll make sure with that here very, very shortly. As I just want to check on round 6. Round 6 will have schedule will be released soon. So they could have a doubleheader in Singapore now, but we'll take a look at that because that's a big thing. But let's get right into it officially now. Big news coming out from this weekend, but we'll quickly head into Budapest. Hungary being a big race weekend. As these drivers have raced there before. That was race 4 of last year. Race 4 of last season, to be exact. And of course, yes, there were different drivers in that race season, from Vicky Piria, Sabre Cook, and Isla Agron. So you erase all 3 of those. You had full-time Abby Pulling, and full-time Chloe Chambers, full-time Emily DeHughes, full-time Bianca Bustamante. And that's your group. That's your group of drivers. But how did the race go last year for the returners? Well, Jamie Chadwick started on pole. Jamie Chadwick took the lead right off the bat. And it was on from there. And that was pretty interesting because the actual GP the main Grand Prix had rain to deal with. These drivers were all sunshine and a definitely cooking track, to, if I may say so myself. But not too big of a deal. A couple of drivers getting off track, a couple of drivers jumping the curbs, which is a big thing in this racetrack, having the final sector, I believe, having curbs. It's like rumble strips, and then it's got a little bit of a elevated part to it. Oh yeah, Miki Koyama was there last year too. But the top three, for the most part, was Chadwick, Powell, and Nydia Marti. So if all three of those drivers have phenomenal cars, we could see that same podium with, that's right, Sidorkova is gone, if I'm not mistaken. So another driver, again, that's into the series. Said is DeHues. The bottom three. The bottom three is none other than Saber Cook, Moore, Peria, and Wood. So you could look for Sarah Moore with her same team to be able to be better, since she's already been there once before. So therefore, she's going to try and be better. No safety car throughout that race weekend, or no safety car throughout that race to be exact. So Chadwick did end up winning. It was Powell who ended up getting second. It was Marti who ended up getting third. So that's Nydia Marti who ended up getting third. Sidorkova, so we take Sidorkova out of the picture, and that was basically what would be now Quant Fury Racing. But Bike Skiffer did end up finishing 5th, Kimmeline in 6th, Marta Garcia 7th, and Belen Garcia 8th. With Bruna Tomaselli 9th, getting 2 points for the team, and Jessica Hawkins 10th. Isla Agron, who is a reserve driver now, found herself in 11th, with Koyama, who's not in the series anymore, found herself in 12th. Eaton was 13th. Cook 14th, Moore 15th, Peria 16th, Wood 17th. Volvind actually wrecked out of the race. She had to DNF her race car due to a broken suspension for her going up in the air. So that is a big possibility off that start for a lot of drivers to be tight. And for how tight this racetrack is, for them to, well, find themselves heading into the wall. But it is wide, especially on the backstretch. So drivers with that will have to deal with how wide the racetrack is in general. So they'll just have to be careful. It's going to be a very tight course to where passing could potentially be limited. If you try and pass and you're not able to make it up to that corner or something like that, you could be losing out on a lot more positions than expected. I mean, that's really all that it comes down to, in a sense, for this racetrack. But the drivers coming back, who have now raced on it at least once: Chadwick, Powell, Marti, Visser, Kimmeline, Garcia, Marta Garcia, Annabelle Garcia, Tomaselli, Hawkins. Agron, technically, if she needs to be filling in. If she needs to fill in for a spot, she could be back in that car. But Eaton, Moore, Wood, technically, and Volvind. So that's very much exciting. That's very exciting. Volvind, yes, her race was knocked out early, but you think about practice, you think about all of that. Who set those fastest laps from last season in that race? From 2021, we figure out what exactly who finished where. In that race, the Hungaroring, in that same round, round 4, with the results. Yep, Jamie Chadwick, but we see all the session results, and this tells you a lot about where those drivers were at that point and who could potentially be, right where they left off, and even a little bit better there. So, a big thing there. Really, they just give the podium there. The race recap. Race weekend wasn't too crazy, I guess. Just circuit on the news. I guess there wasn't too much to really go from besides the race. So, I mean, there you really go. You could really, mainly, we, even as media and as fans, kind of will judge this race based off of what we saw last week and what we saw last year in Hungary for the drivers coming back. Bruna Tomaselli had made some headway with that too, so you can look for her to be in a pretty decent position, to be exact, in that decent position to where she could most likely kind of shake up the table, qualify in a good spot if she's able to keep those track limits, really figure out that setup from the start. So a lot of those drivers that are coming back, well, they just need to feel comfortable in the race car. We heard what Abby Poling talked about for hers. She just says she needs the brakes to be working and not have those problems, the brake problems that she had. So it goes back to that exact same thing. It goes back to a lot of that. What were the problems for these drivers that had problems with their race car that have been here before? The other drivers that have not been here before, how much do they know this circuit, being at least testing it on the sim, testing it out on iRacing, testing it out on S1 games, testing it out on maybe a really good modification out on rFactor 2, since rFactor 2 has the Tatis cars, the almost exact replica of these race cars too. How will that all work out and show and be planned and things like that? Things of that nature, to be exact too. So it's a lot of ifs and buts right now. It's a lot of, what will happen, what can happen for this race coming up into it. And of course, it's the Thursday, so we move forward with that and we get the latest news, kind of just talking about where it is. And there's some interesting news too, and I even want to get into some news that doesn't necessarily have to deal with any of the drivers in the racetrack, but it does have to do with some things, to be exact. But what they have said, second half of the WSeries 2022 kicks off in the Hungary heat. So let's see what WSeries has to say about this. Produced from July 26, 2022. The end of WSeries 2022 European Tour also marks the beginning of the second half of the season, the 6 of 10 races, and the fourth and final one to be staged in Europe. This year takes place on Saturday at the Hungaroring, where Jamie Chadwick regained the championship lead exactly 12 months ago. The reigning double champion has been on top spot in the WSeries standings ever since then. It was at Hungaroring last season that Jamie Chadwick took her fourth WSeries race victory on her 10th start. The preceding 9 races have yielded 2 second-place finishes and 7 straight wins. The latest of those came at Circuit Paul-Ricard, France, last weekend, when the Britain pulled off 2 stunning overtakes on Beitske Visser on her way to victory. That 5th win from 5 races gives Jamie a perfect 125 point so far this season and a 70 point lead over the nearest challenger, Abby, pulling in the championship standings. At the halfway stage, the battle for second place is intensifying as just 15 points separate Abby and Emma Kimmelainen in 7th. So that must be Abby Eaton. Battle for second place is intensifying as just 15 points separate Abby and Emma Kimmelainen in 7th. Got it. So it's a very close battle from the best of the rest, basically. And that's kind of where also, side note, side little rant is, well, Jamie Chadwick, since she won that championship, can't gain any more super license points. We understand that. It's normal pretty much when you win a championship backed by the FIA that you will not regain or get any more title points. Points going towards your super license. Basically, you won't get any more points towards that since you won in that series. If you move on to a different series and win that, well, you will start to gain more super license points. And that's just basically how it works. It kind of works that way in NASCAR, not at the top tier level, of course, because you already have that, so you're at that top level. But at the lower levels, of course, you're trying to gain a spot there, and if you don't have that proper license or whatever, you can't run. And it's just that kind of way of the progression ladder per se. But as we go back to it, the best of the rest championship, we need a trophy for that in my eyes. Hear me out. We get a best of the rest trophy. Who's it going to be with? It's kind of similar to the championship trophy, but a little bit smaller. Because they're not the champ, but they are the champion of everybody else who has. We're fighting for it, but a little bit too far because it's about to, no joke, it's about to already be sealed. I think if Jamie wins this race with her 70-point lead, let's say all the top 5 don't have the best finish. It's a very big possibility. All I'm saying there. Very big possibility that is the case, and that happens. not that it will. But Jamie could potentially win the championship as early as the end of this race. Not mathematically. But where it's literally impossible. Yeah, where it's literally impossible for that, for really any other driver to be able to catch up. That's the big thing that I'm, trying to talk about. But we'll continue. And we'll talk about Emma Kimmelainen. Emma Kimmelainen is enjoying another strong season, finishing 3 of the 5 races inside the top 5, including a first podium of the year at Silverstone earlier this month. Last season, the series' oldest driver finished 6th in Budapest, where she enjoys strong support due to the special affinity that exists between Finland and Hungary. The two nations belong to the same linguistical family and share several cultural historical ties. This weekend, in support of the Formula One, Magyar Nagydíj 2022 at the Hungaroring, which is approximately 24 kilometers, 15 miles northeast of the country's capital city, Budapest. All 18 WSeries drivers will be eager to start the second half of the season in style and go into F1's traditional summer break in August on the back of a strong result. Apart from this season's 5 rookies and Abby, who in her role as a reserve driver did not take part in last year's edition of the race, the other 12 drivers on the WSeries grid all competed at the Hungaroring in 2021. Jamie claimed a lights to flag victory and was joined on the podium by Alice Powell and Nadia Marti. We kind of already discussed that. That was the latter's maiden top 3 WSeries finish, and 2 more have come since then, most recently in Le Castellet last weekend. The Hungaroring hosted its first F1 Grand Prix in 1986 and has been the home of the Hungaroring round every year since, making this the 37th World Championship race to be held there. It is 4.381 kilometers, 2.722 miles long, and notoriously difficult for overtaking. So a good qualifying position is imperative. The WSeries drivers experienced extreme heat in southeastern France last weekend and are set for more of the same here, with temperatures forecasted to exceed 30 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's not too cold. WSeries scheduled for this weekend starts on Friday 29th of July with a 30-minute practice session at 11:50 local time CEST, followed by qualifying from 1925 to 1955 on the same day. The race starts at 14:40 on Saturday 30th of July and will be 30 minutes plus 1 lap. British fans can watch the 6th race of the 2022 WSeries season live from the Hungaroring on Sky Sports F1, Sky Showcase, and Sky Sports Mix from 13:15 BST on Saturday 30th of July. With qualifying live on Sky Sports F1 at 18:10 BST on Friday, July 29th. Highlights of the race will be on Channel 4 at 1400 BST on Saturday, 31st of July. WSeries practice session will be streamed live globally across our YouTube channel from 10:50 BST on Friday, July 29th. The action can also be seen across WSeries digital and social channels, as well as being broadcast more than 175 territories with a full list available. So we're going to skip what Dave Ryan had to say. We're going to just move on to the drivers and break down what they had to say here. Emma Kimmelina, once again, there is no home race for Finns in F1, so I guess this is as close as I get. Lots of Finnish fans have adopted the Hungarian Grand Prix as their own because it's easy to fly direct from Finland. The track is close to the city and there's lots to enjoy in Budapest. The atmosphere at the Hungaroring is always great. Hopefully there will be lots of Finnish flags around and all the WSeries drivers will get good support. The Hungaroring is a physical track and the weather is forecast to be hot, which can make things tricky with our cars and tires. Last year, lots of us struggled with oversteer and it was difficult to overtake, so qualifying high up is important if you want to get a good result. It will be one of the toughest races of the season physically, especially from the young drivers. But we'll see what happens here. Very technical. These cars are quite heavy, so when you drive, I lost where I was. So when you drive into a corner, it feels like you can carry more speed than you actually can. You need to be aware of it, but that only comes with fine-tuning through practice. I struggled in Hungary last year because I hadn't been there before, but now I'm one step ahead because I've been there. Because I know how it is and what I need to do. Last year I honed my technique and my driving improved throughout the race weekend. So I'm starting from that point now and hoping for a good race. So that's kind of the breakdown from that one. It seems like that's the consensus from all the rest of the drivers. Not necessarily that it would be their home race, but what can happen with the W Series. And who's going to be at the front step, who's not going to necessarily be at the front step. Like we said, 12 drivers are going to be used to it per se, and a couple of other drivers not necessarily going to be, which would be the likes of Abby Pulling, Juju Noda, Emily De Hughes, Bianca Bustamante, and I know I'm missing one. Teresa Babakova, yeah. Teresa Babakova. And that would be your fifth one. Before we talk more about what's going to happen with them going to Singapore, we've got to go back and talk about the Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. I remember now. We got to talk about an interesting thing real quick. As we are still breaking down and talking about the Hungarian and what's going to happen tomorrow morning, to be exact, for us. And tomorrow we will get the presence of Naomi Schiff getting to call practice, getting to answer a lot of questions that they've normally been able to do, and just watching the drivers practice, which is very interesting. She'll be on the call, of course, with Alex Jackies on the Saturday race and with qualifying. But the head of comms, Charlotte Sefto, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, Charlotte Sefton, there we go, Charlotte Sefton will be joining Naomi Schiff in the commentary box for practice tomorrow. So, of course, as always, fans and media can, of course, head over to comment below using the hashtag AskWSeries, and they'll answer your questions during the W Series Hungary session. Should be very fun. And of course, hashtag WSeries Hungary now trending as well. And all the drivers today were able to track walk, figure out what the best lines to use and where the worst places to put their cars are going to be. And this is going to be interesting. As always, we see this in practice, especially for the W Series. They're the first cars normally out on the racetrack, so they're cleaning the racetrack for a lot of the other series. And then when they go back out for qualifying, it's completely different because it's more rubbered in, and that means that there's going to be more grip for these drivers, and they're going to try and take off and just get better qualifying laps left and right. And so that's normally what happens throughout the races. Budapest times again. Track length 4.38 kilometers, turns 14. Race length will be 30 minutes plus 1 lap. And then, of course, the lights out will be at 14:40. That is their local time. Hungary first race 2021. Last year when they went there. So very, very exciting for everybody. 2022 race calendar. After that, they will head to Singapore, which is crazy to think that they completely changed from Japan. I'm really interested to know what happened there. And of course, that's where the latest news comes into play of us tackling what happened and why they're going to the Singapore Grand Prix. I mean, it's gorgeous. The streets of Singapore, fantastic, especially for these cars. I think those size cars work better than F1 cars around this place, to be exact. That's my opinion, and that's just, I will always think about that. Think of that. So the race at the Marina Bay Street Circuit will be the WSeries first in Asia and replace the previously announced event in Japan as the 7th race of the 2022 season. Due to unforeseeable operational challenges, the WSeries race at the Suzuka International Racing course in support of the Formula One Honda Japanese Grand Prix 2022 on 7th and 8th of October will no longer take place. Reigning double champion Jamie Chadwick has won the first 5 races of WSeries record 10 race 2022 campaign. The season opening doubleheader in Miami, USA was followed by races in Barcelona, Spain, Silverstone, UK, which attracted a peak UK TV audience of more than 1 million viewers and the highest ever race audience in WSeries history. And Le Castellet, France. WSeries will complete its European tour, staging the race in Hungary this weekend, 29th, 30th July, before F1's traditional summer break in August. After that, the series' third on-track season will continue with races in Singapore. In Austin, Texas, we'll take away the and, but Singapore, Austin, Texas, USA, okay. Some grammar error there, but we won't deal with that. Because, again, it's weird. They said Singapore, comma, and Austin, Texas, USA, comma, before finishing with a doubleheader in Mexico City, comma, Mexico, and comma, in October. Too many commas, in my opinion. I understand the Mexico City, comma, Mexico, that's correct. But the Singapore, comma, and, that normally doesn't fly in journalism, but whatever. Austin, Texas, comma, USA, comma, before. Just really weird articles. But yeah, Marina Bay Street Circuit's where they're going to go. Let's hope I don't screw this name up, but Catherine Bonnier, Chief Executive Officer WSeries, said, since we announced our 2022 race calendar in January, the global landscape has changed considerably. It's with regret that we will not be racing in Japan this year, where we have strong support, but the challenges involved in doing so have increased significantly in the past 6 months, meaning that for a young business like ours, it is sadly no longer possible to hold a race there. That's interesting. We're going to pause what Catherine Bonnier had to say there. Because not too long ago, it was a race in UK, I think. Or Spain. That it was a partnership with Toyota Gazoo Racing. And what that meant was the partnership was that they were going to switch both series with the F3s were going to switch their Tatus race cars. So the Alfa Romeo engines would get shipped over to Asia, and Asia's cars would get shipped over there so they could run those races with cars. that seemed like that was going to be the logical solution, and all it was going to take was going to either be air travel or even boat travel for the drivers to get over there, to get over to Japan. That's what it seemed like. I'm not gonna lie, that's really what it seemed like it was going to come down to. I forgot that F1 was racing at Marina Bay, but besides that, that seemed like the logical explanation. But then they say, okay, instead of that, we're going to Singapore, which Singapore is a main hub for a lot of other things. Where most likely, if you're flying to the Oceania, which would be like Australia, you would land in Singapore first and then fly out to either Abu Dhabi or Australia. So that's very, very interesting that they were no longer able to do it. I guess it's, gas prices and things like that have changed the landscape of everything. I wish that, they could go more in depth with it, but we'll see what they have to say here. Given the giant strides we have made, it is easy to forget that WSeries launched less than 4 years ago. Every step we have taken has been with the long-term interests of the series in mind as we aim to grow in the most sustainable way possible. Our 2022 season promised to be a landmark one as we staged more than 10 more races, 10 in a single season than ever before, including a first ever race in Asia, which is a key market for us. I'd like to thank both Formula One and the team at Singapore GP for helping us to deliver that. But yeah, the Marina Bay Street Circuit has built a fantastic reputation for great racing. We're sure the atmosphere will be incredible as racing returns there after a break. We staged our first ever race on a street circuit in Miami in May to great acclaim, and I'm sure our drivers will put on another exciting show at Marina Bay and continue to inspire new fans of WSeries in Asia. Here's the thing, though. Juju Noda loses her home race, but can technically acclaim that it's Marina Bay now. I do like this move from WSeries a lot. Not necessarily that they're losing a chance of going to Suzuka, but that they're going to another street circuit. And we go back to what happened in the opening round. Absolutely amazing racing from both races. Wall-to-wall action, literally. That's what we're going to see at Marina Bay. Marina Bay, of course, has been updated left and right to the point where they were able to get their chicane corner working and actually slowing down the cars and all this. It's technical, it's rhythmic, it's gorgeous, the fireworks, the nightlife, city around it, just perfect. But with that being said, yeah, would have liked to see them go to both. But that's not possible, like they said. Colin Sin, though, Deputy Chairman, Singapore GP PTE Ltd, what did they have to say? We are thrilled that Singapore will be the first in Asia to host WSeries as we get back on track after a 2-year hiatus. WSeries is leading the way in promoting diversity and gender equality in motorsports. We are proud to partner them by offering a platform for an all-female lineup of elite racers to compete in the F1 Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix in 2022. Yeah, so I think it's great. Here's the thing, though. What he said kind of made me want to say this. It's upsetting that, yeah, you're trying to promote this gender equality, but yet You've got this driver that's won your series 3 straight years in a row, not including, of course, COVID year, where they couldn't race. But you got that 3 straight years in a row. You have a champion. Yeah, we can already crown her a champion. We can already crown Jamie Chadwick a champion this year. Just FYI. But yet that driver that I'm naming cannot find a ride in a higher series. The driver in second can't do the same thing. She's still young, but without that championship, in my eyes, Abby Eaton looks well enough for an F3 ride. Visser went to the European Le Mans Series and crushed it. She found a ride. But that's not an open wheel or F1. Then you look at Jamie Chadwick, a driver that's got good enough skill to be in an F2 car, and it's not. So you tell me what's gender equality. Because last time that I checked, this series is supposed to promote it and supposed to be able to get drivers that are that good to the next step. But they haven't gotten that a single driver to that next step where they have officially graduated from this series. That better be this year. It better be this year. We better not see Jamie Chadwick in the W Series next season. For a good reason and a good reason only, because she is in an F2 or at worst an F3, a top F3 team. Mini rant, but that is true. She deserves to be in a better car. She deserves to be in a series where she can fight as just a driver. I'm sure everybody can agree with that. Even though it's being said by this guy. But everyone, from even Twitter, is in agreement. She does not belong in the W Series. She belongs in an F2 car in the highest, if not that lowest, F3. F3 in a good team. Even with Charu's racing, in my eyes, she can be good with them. Trident racing. Any of those. That's a miniature rant and that's done. But that kind of plot. I'm sure this race in Singapore is going to be great, and that's going to be fun. But first, we have to finish off the season before the summer break in Hungary. Looking forward to it. Should be interesting. But yeah, very, very, very exciting. Not much else really to talk about. We talked about, everything that needed to be talked about. So thank you all so very much for listening to this, for watching this, however you all did it. The last race is July 29th and 30th of Hungaroring, Budapest, Hungary this weekend. Then September 30th to October 2nd will be Marina Bay Street Circuit, Singapore. Then the 21st to 22nd of October, one of the best places on the calendar, Circuit of the Americas, Austin, USA. Then on Halloween weekend, what it's supposed to be. We'll see if it still happens. Should. But we'll see if it's still on the calendar after the summer break. Is Autodroma Hermanos Rodriguez, Mexico City, Mexico. In the doubleheader. So we'll see. But again, thank you all so very much for watching this and listening to it. Remember, I stream these live on Twitch if you want to watch those. But we post them on YouTube, and if you do like what you are seeing on YouTube, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to like this video. Always helps us out, and I love doing this. So, thank you all so very much for watching. Thank you all so very much for listening. See you all next time. Adios.